And now to talk about our module of the week, let's turn over to Martin, a principal solution engineer at Acquia and a maintainer of a number of Drupal modules and recipes of his own. Martin, what do you have for us this week?
Thanks, Nick. Have you ever needed to maintain a site where a site owner had access to update site configuration and wanted to be notified whenever they did so? There's a module for that. It's called Config Notify, and it was created in Feb 2020 by Fran Garcia Linares, one of today's guests. It has an 8.x-1.11 version available, which supports Drupal 8.8 and newer. It is actively maintained and has security coverage, and it has two open issues, neither of which are bugs, which is pretty good considering it's officially in use by 194 sites, according to Drupal.org. Now, just like it sounds, this module lets you trigger notifications when the configuration deviates from the config management code in production. You can choose for the notifications to be sent immediately or via cron with an update for a daily digest. The notifications can be sent by email or via Slack using the Slack module if you have that enabled. Now, this should be an easy to implement solution if you support a site where users may be updating the site configuration in production. A different approach was discussed on this show back in episode number 236 called Top Down Configuration. So let's talk about Config Notify. Maybe, Fred, do you want to give us a background in terms of what inspired you to start it?
Yeah, so I was gladly surprised to see it mentioned. The main reason for it was because in my previous job I was working on the maintenance thing, and we were working daily with 40, 50 sites where actually, yeah, many of the clients or even the some of the developers would just go ahead and change configuration on production sites, and we know how disastrous that could be. So we could not monitor everything every day. It was taking a lot of time. And then just chatting with one project manager, we just said it would be great if we get notified if something changes on production. And then I said, I think I can put that together. Yeah, a few days after that, I built a kind of proof of concept. It kind of worked out of the box. And then we started to add it, like the bells and whistles for Slack and these kind of things. My stress level and happiness improved a lot. So that's kind of the backstory of it. I have to say, I love this. I immediately I've already sent this to a client where we don't actually change config all that often in production. The only people that can do it are developers, but we would only really do it in kind of a debugging or an emergency situation, but still having kind of a record, that's something they have a lot of audits and security. So having a record of what was changed when can help. Like a couple of actually about a month ago, we were dealing with an issue where we were getting DDoS by Google. We were getting 100,000 requests a minute. Oh no, an hour, and we had to scramble to kind of resolve some things, and that involved a lot of config changes, both in Drupal and outside of Drupal. And a lot of the process was just tracking what changed. And if we had some sort of system like this that kind of tracked those changes automatically or helped make sure we didn't miss something as part of our post resolution cleanup
Mhm.
is really valuable. I would love an integration with GitHub too that could just like open a blocking pull request to be like, hey, there's config on production that's different than what you're pushing up here. Do you want to resolve that before you push? That would be great.
Actually, there is a module for that. I think it's called config underscore PR or something like that. I would need to Google it, but I think I've seen a module similar to that.
Oh yeah. I just found that we can put that in the show notes too. That is
Yeah, for
interesting.
me, I am a big fan of the config read-only module, which you probably mentioned in another show. And whenever I can, I try to install that, and that disallows anybody from making changes in production. But that's just not always possible. Sometimes, yeah, clients request it and say, okay, at least I want to know about it, and that's what config notify is about.
That might be interesting to that client, especially since I assume you can lock down specific configuration, or is it kind of global? It just locks down everything. That might be that might be worth looking into. Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Martin. As always, you came up with a great module of the week, and I foresee
diving in pretty deep in the future with one of my clients because or several of my clients because I think this will be pretty useful. So finding it. If listeners wanted to suggest a module of the week or just chat about one that we've talked about recently, what's the best way for them to do that?
We are always happy to talk about modules of the week, either, current, past, or potentially future in the Talking Drupal channel of Drupal Slack, or folks can reach out to me directly as ManClue on all of the Drupal and social channels.
Thank you.